Hello, everybody! Welcome to another episode of the Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures, episode 48. And tonight we're going to be talking a little about social media and bushcrafting. So, the working title is Social Media, Our Love-Hate Relationship. And that pretty accurately describes social media. There's a lot of good to it, but there can be some negative things that just end up biting you in the butt. So, lead us in, Ben, as always. I'm going to do our advertising, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so we were talking the other day and just kind of discussing what we wanted to talk about yet next. And they said we're fast approaching our 1 year anniversary, which yay us, pretty amazing. Never really thought we'd get this far in some ways, but I always kind of hoped we would. So it's really exciting. And a big part of this whole journey has been social media. We met through social media. This is advertised through social media. YouTube, I consider part of social media, is one of our platforms that we run a lot of our stuff off of. So it's a very important and powerful part in our whole podcast, and in how we research equipment, how we research techniques and processes and ideas, and how we find out about places to go. I mean, we use it for an awful lot. We make friends with social media, um, and it's probably one of the most powerful tools that we use for the podcast in a lot of ways. But we kind of got thinking. I think both of us just talking that it's not all roses and perfect. There are some downsides to social media. And I guess we should get off like, what are the benefits? And the benefits, it has given me access, the internet in general, but social media to things that I probably never heard of or never would have heard of. Would have taken me years and years to find out about on my own with before social media was such a thing. Now, like an idea happens in Australia, and 2 weeks later, half of Canada would know about it. Like we can see things literally around the world. So when someone comes up with a really good idea or a different method or process, it's quickly shared, and through media like social media, it can be really pumped out to the masses, and we can all learn from it quicker and faster and better, and we can improve upon ideas, and that's the awesome part. The other sort of side of it is sometimes maybe less than good ideas or improper information just as quickly can end up in the system and be taken as gospel, just because the wrong person said it, or more precisely the most popular person believes it, and then all of a sudden, because that's very popular and a lot of people hear about it and then run with it, it becomes an accepted fact rather than a theory or a possible option. And that's sort of one of the downsides, I guess. So I'm sure you've gotten some of your background stuff done, Robert.
I'm all good.
Wanna,
Yep. I was actually just floating back to Facebook there to advertise a little bit more.
oh,
Yeah, all great points you made there, Ben. And much like yourself, I think you hit everything I had written down right on the head, or at least you briefly went over it. The big thing with social media, with us anyway, the love relationship for us is it's getting us around. I was looking at our statistics from our podcast, and we're literally viewed all over the world. We got people from the United Kingdom, Australia, seen Spain in there, seen Russia in there. We have a good following in the United States. We have Canada, of course. We got like literally all over the world. People are picking us up through the podcast. Now, the flip side of that is where we are kind of a podcast. Well, we're not a kind of podcast. We are a podcast. And we do our podcasts on videos. There's a lot of doubling over and a lot of kind of repeating the wheel, but not really repeating the wheel. You know what I mean? And social media does make a little of that as kind of a negative. Social media is great as long as you can keep up with it, if that makes any kind of sense.
yeah, and that is actually parallels in or parlayed into one of the things I really wanted to talk about. and I call it the time thief. Uh, Social media is great, but it also takes a lot of work. Like, hats off to all the YouTubers, the other podcasters, the Instagram people, like the people that are using all these Twitter, all these different platforms to communicate with their followers, their fan base, to provide good quality content. But I don't know if anyone can really, truly, without doing this. And I know there's people out there going to be like shaking their head, like, "Oh yeah, I really know what he's saying." Other people are like, "Really? Is it that bad?" But it takes a lot of time and concentrated effort to put out a decent, good product. Uh, and not only necessarily time and effort, to some degree, a fair bit of money. I mean, we're constantly working at how to potentially make this less, more cost effective for us. Um, I think you can agree on that, there, Robert.
Yeah, it seems
But
like a good many of our conversations start out with, well, it'd be nice if it would just pay for itself at least.
but but yeah, I mean, we we do bushcraft, so we buy a lot of bushcraft gear, and I don't think we ever consider that as part of our expense. But if you're going to do social media, you need a decent data plan. You need a decent phone to record with, a decent camera. You need the mics. You need more and more equipment. You need battery backups for when you're in the woods, because now you're going through battery power at an accelerated rate, because you're trying to take so much more video recordings. You're going to try to do more things. You're constantly editing, thinking about what things work. And that costs, your time and money. And that's what I said earlier, like time theft. To take a good video, you have to think about your shots. You have to get your camera into the right locations. You have to shoot it. Then you go back and you check it to see if it's any good. People would be shocked to how much stuff, like you set the camera up and you turn away and something falls down and sort of ruins the shot, or it wasn't quite in focus, or all kinds of things just happen, right?
And just getting the good shots, even if everything goes perfect, it might just not be a good or flattering shot. Not just flattering to yourself, but flattering to what you're trying to demonstrate. Like, it's
Yeah.
very easy for a little bit of light to ruin an entire video. Like, it just came from the wrong direction, or you thought it'd be great lighting and it turned out just to be a blinding lighting. And I mean, we've talked about it before. There's kind of a knack just being able to get those good transition shots and stuff like that all kind of mesh together. Like, there's a lot of time goes into that, and there's people that do it way better than I do. I mean, I don't even pretend to be that great at it. And people are really good at it, but I at least know that how much work goes into it. Jeremy himself, he's on here with us. He said the real work starts after the camera turns off. And I mean,
Oh,
that's 100% true.
it
Shooting the
is.
video was the easy part. That's the stuff we know.
I mean, I like your about a flattering shot. I mean, we're already working with a pretty poor base, me and you. So.
I was about to say, I know the last couple episodes have been ending off with, like, come look at our beautiful faces. That's a lie, guys. Come and have a couple laughs. That's more realistic.
Those of you who are listening solely on sound, you're actually doing yourself a great favor. You don't have to look at our faces. But those of you that like to, we would really encourage you to join us on YouTube. Watch us on that media. It's a powerful media. And there is a little bit more you're going to get out of it. We do have some visual props that we can throw up occasionally and stuff. And we'd love to see you on this other form of media. Let's just parlay. We won't. We
Yeah.
do have a thing we're starting now for our 50-second show.
That is correct. So this is episode 48, which means we are only 1 month. 1 month away from being 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
From one solid year of podcasting and never, not once, missing an episode. We even broadcasted on Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So
We're that good.
Yeah, we're that dedicated. Let's go with that. I will wholeheartedly say that we are that dedicated.
Did I tell you there's a really good chance I'm going to miss the 50-second episode?
Yes, you and I were talking about it, but there's a reason behind that, and it's a good reason. We're still going to put out an episode, and we have ideas in play. So, but we're not going to miss the episode. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, there's always... Like, there was a night I couldn't do anything except type. We still made an episode. It's actually one of our
If
better viewed episodes too, by the way.
anything's got to be better than the time you just walked off camera. Now I deserved it because I did it to you a minute before, but
But there was more to that too. That was back in the early days. Anyway, we digress. Anybody that's new to it and just joining us now, be sure to go back and listen to some or watch the earlier stuff. When we were still getting our feet under us and learning all about this, you'll see the steps of coming through social media. It's really not as easy as what we thought it was when we started, because the idea was, oh, hey, Ben, let's just, we'll basically record ourselves having a discussion about bushcraft and put it up online. How hard can it really be? There's way more to it than you ever think there is when you first start with that opinion.
there is, and I mean, I think we were. I was especially lucky to have you to work with because you've handled the lion's share of the digital side of this, which has made it a lot easier for me. But we've accomplished a lot. I think we've improved greatly, and we do plan on continuing to improve. But in the meantime, on our 52nd episode, we do have a bit of a surprise, do we not?
We do. So, why don't you tell them a little bit about it? I think I got it right over there, and I'm going to grab it. I do got to take my headset off, though.
And Robert may come back and tell me I'm a little off topic or off. But we are going to have a little giveaway. The giveaway will be based off our YouTube subscription. Robert's back, so he'll confirm or deny if I'm right or wrong. But we are doing a giveaway. Robert has a part of it there in his hands. It is a Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures shirt. The back says,
I don't know if that's forward or backwards for you guys, but
that's right. I'm a bushcrafter. What's your superpower? This is a shirt that we had designed and built, made for us. I think we're both actually wearing the same shirt. Interestingly enough. So
I've worn mine every podcast since I've gotten it.
I've noticed that, and I threw this one on just before the podcast because I said I can't be the guy forgetting this time.
But see, that leads into another important part about social media. There's a lot of branding involved that you don't realize.
Just building a little, like our little logo, which is pretty simple and very attractive, I might add.
There we go.
We spent a lot of time on this.
Yeah, there was a whole process involved in that.
Me and my wife did a lot of the work, and we're sending stuff to Robert. And Robert's giving feedback, and we had a much more complicated design, and we simplified it down. I'm really pleased with what we've come up with. I think it's pretty awesome.
I think it's simplicity and elegance. There we go. Everything's backwards for me. Simplicity and elegance melded together in its finest.
Yes. So, correct me if I'm wrong. We are going to randomly choose one of our subscribers on YouTube to receive this beautiful t-shirt and possibly a few other little odds and ends.
Yes, you are definitely getting the t-shirt. We do have some other odds and ends, which could be a surprise. We may tell you the day off. We may let you see what you get when it comes to you. T-shirt for sure, and a few other ideas. And the real cool thing about these t-shirts is, if you get it, I know you're just kind of saying, hey, it's a t-shirt, but realize this is one of the first t-shirts that we made for Atlantic Bushcraft. It's literally one of the first handful that has been produced. So it's kind of special to us, or at least special to me. I assume it is to you as well, Ben. So that's kind of more the significance behind it. Yeah, you're just getting a t-shirt, but it's a special t-shirt. It's one of the first ones we ever made.
I physically went to the store. I bought the shirt. We brought it back to this house. We took my wife's hard work to add the print, and it's all handmade. It's all done here. This wasn't sent out to some Chinese factory or some South American country to be made and mass produced. These are done by hand individually for you. And that's the goal behind it. I think some of the other ideas that I have a couple ideas that I want to try and get to Robert when we send the package out. That it's the same idea. These are things that we've made. It may not be something that everyone would value highly, but we do. We value it highly. It is special to us. And we hope you do value it the same. But yes, get out to YouTube, look us up, Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. We're easy to find. I know, because Robert keeps checking.
Yes, I have quite the list. We'll get into that a little bit more in our topic, but
Yeah. But yeah, look us up, subscribe to us, hit the bell if you want, watch our videos if you like, but just subscribe. If you're a subscriber, your name will go in. We hope you enjoy some of the content. We are constantly working to put more stuff on it, improve ourselves, and get the discussion going, because this is what we're about, getting people out there.
and
And
getting
I
them
don't
to
want to
experience
dwell.
everything.
Yeah, and I don't want to dwell too much on this. I do have a little bit more I'd like to talk about the social media, I think.
For sure.
But
So, yeah, you said it all, and I don't mean to cut you off, Ben. You might have covered it. My headset might have been off. Did you mention it's only going to be for YouTube subscribers?
I did,
Okay, perfect.
uh, but it does bear repeating for sure.
Yes. So, to have a chance to win the t shirt and potentially a few other items from Ben and I, you have to be subscribed to our YouTube channel. Now, this is twofold for us, and where this is a social media episode, I don't mind, explaining the whole thing. We are trying to get more people into our YouTube channel just so they can see our other videos as well, because we are not only just the podcast, which some of you guys out there listening to us on audio have only know us for. There are other videos on our YouTube channel, such as gear reviews, how-to videos, opinion videos, just us off in the woods. Like, there's other stuff there that we think you guys might be interested in, and we really hope you are. So there's the added benefit. Come on over, check out some of our other stuff. We're still in the process of updating it, and you'll get a chance to potentially win something. So, I mean, it's a win-win. How can you go wrong? It's one click, right?
And yeah, so get out there, see what we're doing. We have other ideas that are potentially going to show up on YouTube, that I think you guys very much will enjoy, especially if you enjoy hearing our podcast. It's things that sort of branch off of that and expand upon that. So, yeah. But if we want to get back to the social media discussion, I mean, like I said, this is part of it. Social media gives us a voice, and that's what we love about it. The other side is it gives everyone a voice, and it should be an equal voice. But the reality is, it isn't necessarily an equal voice. It can be very much swayed by money and popularity. And I mean, some good ideas maybe just aren't getting out there because they haven't got the backing or support that some others do.
And
Which
it makes
means
it
that
a lot harder to get traction under your feet in that situation too. So, I mean, sometimes it's just dumb luck. And one more thing I want to say there, Ben, just because it's their first time on, Justin Keeley, welcome to the show. Previous listener, first time viewer.
Hey, Justin. Yeah, and one of the examples I kind of want to throw out there is there's a lot of, I think what they call cottage industry producers of good quality products. They're oftentimes hard to...
That's for Chris.
They're oftentimes hard to find, unfortunately. When you type in, say, the word underquilt, for example, you're going to come up with the top 4 or 5 brands every time. They're going to fill out your Google search. Through things like social media, through forums like hammockforums.com, I think it is. I'm a long-term member. Apparently, I'm a senior member. I just sort of re-signed up in the last couple of days and realized I've been a member since 2013 or something ridiculous. Like,
That's a long time, but that's the beauty of it too, right?
But here's the thing. Through services like that, through services like the Facebook and is it Nova Scotia Bushcraft, I have become aware of a lot of products that I couldn't find any other way. And it's really good that I found out about them. The really sad thing is they're not necessarily getting the coverage they deserve, because big brand names can sometimes flood these things out. On the flip side, small brand names are using this these services to build themselves a name, and they are coming out there. We've talked a little bit about companies like One Tigers. We're not associated with them in any way, shape, or form, but I feel that right now they are putting out a really good product at a decent price generally. Um, Very competitive price, anyways. This is a company that I think has used this and is up and coming. How they're going to go in the future, that remains to be seen. Maybe they're going to continue putting out a great product at a great price, or maybe they're just going to try and become like some of the other bigger brand names and think that they can make money off their name alone, regardless of the quality of their product. I really hope we don't see that, but this is something that sometimes social media allows. Once a name becomes powerful enough, it's more than the product.
And it
I
starts
don't.
eclipsing things, right? So, I mean, a prime example of that, not bushcraft related, but is you get these Instagram and YouTube influencers, I think is what they're calling themselves now, where it's basically somebody gets so much of a following, they can set a trend. And it could be a completely wrong or ridiculous trend by quote unquote normal standards or typical standards, and it'll just take off. Like, look at these. I don't even want to say the last one. So an old one, the Tide Pod Challenge and stuff like that. That all
That's
takes off on social
yeah,
media, and I mean that is ridiculous.
and that's what sort of sat in the back of my head. The Tide Pod Challenge is a perfect example of where social media has been used improperly. It's a bad idea that went through the world, and it put people's lives at risk. And we have to be really careful. As me and Robert are not, I think, at the level of an influencer even yet, but maybe we are to some people. And we have to be somewhat careful with what we promote and what we tell people to look for and to try. Because the last thing either of us want to do is say, you should go out and try to do something that's really, maybe safe for us, but maybe not so safe for you because of a difference that we're not really aware of. Someone pointed out, I was camping with some guys last weekend, and it was pointed out that in Nova Scotia, there's been virtually no attacks by bears in the history. So that's an amazing thing. So if I told people, go out and enjoy the woods, don't worry about bears, they're perfectly safe. Nobody's ever been attacked by one. In Nova Scotia, that may more or less be true.
There's
The
always a first.
reality is, you don't have to go that far from Nova Scotia where records of bear attacks do exist.
Mm.
Uh, and here within Canada, there are people that carry guns on a routine basis because bears are a true and present danger. Polar bears up north have been known to be quite aggressive. Uh,
Grizzly bears from Ontario, cougars in the mountains and
yeah.
stuff like that. Like, I mean, there is real threats out there too. So it's like you just said, somebody could be like, "Oh yeah, get out, have fun. It's perfectly safe." And unfortunately, somebody may hear that and say, "No, I heard it online. They always have a good time. It's good to be safe." They head out into their woods and didn't realize they're right in the heart of cougar country, or right in the heart of, they stumble into a grizzly bear's den or something like that. Like, there's still the potential is always there for something to happen.
So just because I can do it where I'm to doesn't mean you can do it where you're to, and vice versa. There's stuff that you can attempt to do in other places of the world that me and Robert would not attempt here because it's just not safe or sane. Our winters are known to be extremely cool. I won't say cold; they do get very cold, but they're also damp and wet. It produces its own risks for us here. I mean, I winter camp. Robert spends a fair bit of time in the woods in the winter. We very much enjoy it. There's a lot of challenges and stuff, but we are very cognizant of the fact that when we're out there, you need to stay dry because it can turn off very cold very quick. And I think we've said it before: wet is bad, cold is bad, wet and bad. Wet and cold is death.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for death. And we're not exaggerating. If you get yourself real wet and the temperatures are dropped below zero, it's very hard to get dried off, and you're going to get very, very cold in the meantime, and it's going to sap your energy. It's going to cause a lot of issues, and if you don't get yourself dry and warm in a reasonable amount of time, you could pay for it with serious injury if not up to and including death.
And the flip side of that, especially with cold and wet, is some people don't even realize it's becoming a problem. Speaking from experience of getting hypothermia, there's a fine line in there where you know you're cold to all of a sudden you don't feel cold anymore. You just feel drowsy. And all of a sudden
Yeah.
you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm warming up, and now I'm just kind of getting tired. And it's real easy to be in that state and just be like, oh, I'm just going to sit down and rest for a minute. And then that leads to, I'll just lean on this tree, I'll just close my eyes, and that is the last thought you ever have. And it's a
Yeah.
real easy thing to do. Like I said, this is 100% experience. I've had hypothermia once really good, and I've had it just starting a second time. And it's not a pleasant experience at all. And it's just like that. You'll get cold, and then you just don't feel cold. And some people have even reported feeling hot at the end of that, and they start taking clothes off. And I don't know about
Yes.
you, but I mean, during searches and stuff like that, we have found people, unfortunately, in that state. So,
Yeah. I have not witnessed it as a searcher, but other searchers who I know and have spoken to have indicated they have often found lost victims that were in a state of hypothermia, to being in the state of various degrees of undressed, down to and almost including naked. And it's not a good state, because these are people that are already in a really bad situation, and at some point their skin, they say, almost feels like it's on fire, and that's why they strip off. They're hot, but they're not hot. They're froze, and they're you know they feel like they're hot
yeah, they're on
because
their
they
way out, is what the reality is. Your body, without getting too scientific or medical into it, because I'm not qualified for that in the slightest, but your body starts to relax and you flush out. And all the nerve receptors and stuff in your skin start to decay and shut down, and that's what causes the burning, tingling feel, from what I understand. Same thing happens when you get frostbite, which is another very easy thing to get in Nova Scotia during the winters. Real common on the ears, nose, toes, fingers, stuff like that with bushcrafters and people that go outside, and it feels cold all of a sudden, and it starts feeling like it's kind of burning, and you stop forgetting about it because you think the danger's over, and now all of a sudden you're missing the end of your nose or something like that, right? So there's, regardless of what you do, there's always a little bit of danger involved to it, or the potential for danger. And jumping back to the social media side of it, if people are giving the misrepresentation of that, it's real easy to start sliding down a path where you could be, unfortunately, putting people at risk that you don't necessarily have to.
yeah. um so there's the potential to spread misinformation, not because you intentionally want to do it, but just because you're spreading information based on your own experiences and your own location, and it's not transferable worldwide. The other thing that's really easy to be influenced on social media, and this is something that I think everyone, when they start to say, I'm not going to fall victim to this. And right now, I think we're really safe, but the reality is this is a potential thing that can happen even to us, is outside influence. So I say this by things, and I don't mean any offense to anyone out here there that supports any products or reviews products. Um, but as you get potentially sponsorships, which I mean we are open to, uh, there's a there is a fine line where you have, I mean, your own name, your own reputation. You're going to put that out there. Uh, if a company sends you a bad product, and if you don't give it a decent review, you may feel that you could lose that support. And I mean, it's a hard choice for somebody in that situation. Fortunately for us, we haven't been in that position. We'd be willing to try. Um, but yes, you do have to take anything you see on online with a grain of salt. Any review that you see, I hope the reviewer is doing their best to give you an open and honest review. But don't use one person's example knowing that A, you're looking at just their experience, and B, you don't know what additional influences on there. There are a few really good people out there who will openly admit they pay for everything themselves, and they have, nothing, no pony in that race. There's others that do have a pony in that race that are extremely honest and upfront, and will tell you everything they can. But there's also ones that have no real choice, and I'm not knocking it. But when you get,
It's the reality of the game, unfortunately. You
yeah,
know what I mean? It's like any other business, and that's fine line between what social media can be at a level. It's a business. Some of these people are
yeah,
making their livelihoods off it, and they could be putting their family at jeopardy by potentially ruining their sponsorships. It's an
yeah.
unfortunate thing that can happen, but it's a real thing that can happen.
So this is the thing. I mean, social media is a bit of a popularity contest. It's influenced by, the you know uh, attractiveness potentially, wittiness. Uh,
Better eliminate that one right off the gate for me.
it's too late for us,
I
Robert.
know, we're done.
We're never making it on the attractive side. Uh, we might get the comedy side.
Hope so.
Uh, but no, there are things that influence popularity, and you get your product out there, you spend the time, the energy. I don't knock people that get out get out there who are successful. I'm not saying that just because they're popular and successful, they're not right, and many of them are. Uh, but there is that risk, so keep that in mind. Like I said, from an influencer or producer of product, it does take a lot of our time and energy, and so that was a downside. Uh, I think I've covered a lot of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Now I'm
Yeah,
starting
it's
to
actually been
ramble.
a pretty
So
fluid conversation. We
yeah,
had a few rambles in there, but it hit a lot of good points. The only point I wanted to add on to your last one was there's a flip side to that too. Um, and you touched on it, but I'd like to come back to it is never base your opinion, like you said, on the review of one person. And the wonderful thing about social media is guaranteed there's at least a couple different opinions out there on the same product or the same point or the same principle or whatever you want to call it. There's probably other people out there. And the beautiful thing about social media is as long as you're willing to put the time in, and it always comes back to that time factor, you can do your research and formulate a decent opinion of your on your own, which wasn't available to you like when I was, for instance, 15. There was like if you wanted to read reviews, you bought a magazine, you hoped it was a good review, and you went and bought the product. And then you made your decision after that if you wasted your money or if it was worth it.
yeah. Well, an example of this. Let's take a product that we're somewhat familiar with, or I'm somewhat familiar with, and a company that I'm so. I'm going to talk a little bit about One Tigress. They have the Smoky Hut, which is an extremely well reviewed product. If you go on YouTube, if you go just Google One Tigress Black Orca Smoky Hut, you are going to find a ton of reviews. It is a good product that is generally well reviewed. It has its downsides. It's not a perfect product. Don't don't go out and rush out and buy a ton and say, "Oh, Ben told me to." It's not a perfect product. It has some really good points. I've really enjoyed it. You've seen one set up, Robert,
Yep.
uh, but yeah, I don't think you've stayed in one.
I have not stayed in one, no.
Right. I have. I've stayed in a smoky hut. It was very nice, very enjoyable. It stood up to a ton of snow and stuff. I can't knock it. Um, Interestingly enough, exact same company, almost an identical product out there and I have one in my hand. It's not very big. It fits in the same bag. In fact, it is the exact same bag Smoky Hut comes in. It's a very similar looking product, and it's called the Wild Haven. This is one I bought. I bought it almost despite the very few reviews I could find because it had some features that I really liked. And I couldn't find reviews, and I really wanted something that wasn't well covered, but had things that I liked. This particular one has a few things that Smoky Hut doesn't have. It has two full sets of doors that open up both ways. So when you open up all the doors in this thing, it's basically a tunnel. Um, it has uh, a, a chimney hole just like the Smoky Hut or the Ironside, but it's in one of the doors. So a little bit of a downside there to some people. And it's relatively close to a vent. I have done a review. I'm not going to go too much more in detail. Social media really latched onto one product and pushed the hell out of it. And if they've ignored another product that I think is also a similarly good product and has some great advantages. Just because it's popular and well covered doesn't mean it's the only option out there. Doesn't mean it's the best option out there. Uh, you do have to use some of your own common sense. You have to do research and think about what you really want and see if that product really does fit you. Because just because it fits one person for their situation doesn't mean it's going to fit you for your situation. So think about what you have, what you need. Is this going to work? And really make a good informed decision of what's available. For me, there wasn't a ton of information other than what the manufacturer put out there on it. Uh, what do you think, Rob?
No, I was actually just sitting here nodding in agreement. It's another kind of negative to the social media aspect. It's real easy to drive one thing and overlook others. And I actually had a point here, which was oversaturation of market, and that you basically explain the whole thing there. Basically, there's so many people that can flood social media now. Sometimes it's hard to pick out the good ones, and the okay ones or other good ones tend to get pushed on top of them. So that's one thing to be aware of with social media. I mean, no matter which way you come from social media, either producing some sort of social media like we do, or receiving social media like hopefully you guys are doing willingly, um, there's always a catch. With us on the podcasting thing, we kind of cornered a niche market, and there's only like 15 or 20 of us making bushcraft podcasts that make it onto a lot of the podcasting things. So that was kind of a leg up for us if you want to look at it, or maybe it's such a tiny market because there's nobody there. That's another thing. You know what I mean? Maybe it just doesn't work. Um, we have a pretty faithful following between a good amount of people, but that's basically where we capped off at. And we were okay with that going into this. We kind of knew that too. And that's another thing to always be aware of with social media. There's always that potential that you're going to hit your plateau, and hopefully we haven't hit our plateau, but maybe you will, and that's just where you cap off. You have to be willing to accept that going into it, or that your whole lifestyle may change too. Don't assume going into social media, being on the producing side, that this is going to be your life going on. If that's what you want and it works out, awesome. But there's almost a greater chance, just because of that market saturation, that you're probably, it's going to be like ice skating uphill. You're going to work for it real hard, or unfortunately, it may slip away just from sometimes dumb luck.
Yeah, and a risk is that if you're chasing viewers, you can lose yourself, and and, and that's an unfortunate thing. But for example, if you go out and do a video on, let's try to find a knife review. So you review a knife. You're not really a review channel. That's not what you want it to do. You want it to do camping videos, but you had a really good knife that you really liked. So I'm going to review this because I think people should buy this. So you pull this knife out, you do the review on it, and all of a sudden you go from 1,000 subscribers to 2,000 overnight because this is a knife that's fairly popular. People want some information, and you've done a really good video on it. All of a sudden you're like, that really did a good job. I'm going to do another review video. So you go out and you find out what's really popular right now, and you do a review video on that. Next thing you know, you're no longer reviewing anything that has to do with bushcraft. You're reviewing mixers because that's the next popular item. You've lost your initial goal. You end up completely on a tangent. You're no longer doing anything that you really wanted to do. You're chasing that goal. You may make a fortune at this. You may love the fact that you're making money. You may love the fact that you're getting the attention. But you may also eventually, and this is where you have to be really careful, you could learn to hate yourself because now you're doing something you have absolutely zero interest in. But you've gotten yourself to a point where now you're dependent on this following, and you're doing something that you don't want, and it's become a job. I think for me and you, we don't want this to become a job.
And
We
I think
want this
what
to
we
become,
said going into it was the second it stops being fun, it stops being a thing. You know what I mean? And we
yeah,
always have fun. Like we don't we don't set ourselves up for failure in any way that we're not expecting. We go into it knowing what it can be. We have fun with it. And we hope you guys enjoy listening to us have fun because that's half the fun. I know we pick at Chris and we pick at Jeremy and we pick at Gary, but once again, these are all guys we chat to on the regular, and it's just kind of part of it. We all have fun. We hope we don't hurt anyone's feelings out there. If they did, I'm sure every one of those people I listed would be the first ones to set us straight, but that's just kind of it. If you're not enjoying it, social media can almost haunt you. Like a prime one for me is Facebook. When Facebook was a thing, like when it first started off, I was good with Facebook. Coming into it now, I almost hate Facebook. Not for Facebook itself and what it is, but for what it's become because of the people that are on Facebook. You know what I mean? Like, it's not bad when I see my bushcrafting buddies and I see their stuff and I use it the way I want, but then your feed will just get flooded with drama. And drama you have no interest in whatsoever. There seems to be more and more and more and more of that. And I'm not knocking Facebook. Some people go on there just for the drama and love it. That's their thing. That's just
Yeah.
me. Like, I don't. It's not what I signed up for when I originally signed up, and social media has a habit of doing that as well. Like I was trying to think of it while I was talking. MySpace was the one I was thinking of. You remember when MySpace was a thing?
I do.
It's not a thing anymore.
How old are you, Robert?
Oh God, I think I was in high school. But LinkedIn, it was huge for a while, and now it's not. It's still big, but it's not what it originally was when it started. You know what I mean? And Facebook's not what it originally was when it started. Facebook started off as an application like LinkedIn. It was supposed to be to help you get a job, and it just kind of grew.
Yeah. Um, yeah. You mentioned some of our buddies, and I feel obligated that you really should check some of these guys out. Check out Lone Wolf 902. Check out, was it Nova Scotia Yak Fisher?
Mm-hmm.
What's the other one there? You said Chris?
Yeah, Chris is
Is
there.
he
I'm
up?
trying to remember what his stuff is. He's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Do you have a YouTube channel there or anything like that you want to give a shout out to, Chris? I feel like you've been with us for the whole thing. It's only fair that you get a little spot at this point.
But check out and feel free to post, on our YouTube your stuff. Like, if you're into this stuff, like if you're, don't go on and post something that's non-bushcraft related on our stuff. We'll probably delete that. I'm not being mean or anything. It's just that's not who
No,
we
but
are.
it's not what we are, right? So,
But if if you have a bushcraft related stuff that you want to share it with us. We will forward it on. We will recommend it if we feel it's recommendable. And if you listen to us, we want to listen to you. We want to hear you. We want to build a community. This is, I think. Jeremy on Lone Wolf 902 once said to me when I was camping with him, he said to him that his viewers are his friends, his community. He lives to talk to them. He loves hearing from them. He loves hearing their opinions and their feedback and stuff. It's more than just a business for him, same as it is for us. He does promote some products. I'm not knocking that in the least. He's got some great products, and he's had the opportunity to check out these products. And I think this is great for the community. It gives us the opportunity to see things that maybe we'd never have gotten to see, and
well, that's
talk
the
to
thing.
somebody.
Bushcrafters generally aren't rich. I'm seeing a running
Yeah.
theme. I got into a weird hobby. Like you're always broke. Or at least I am. Maybe I'm just hanging around the wrong bushcraft crew. But yeah, exactly. Social media gives you, and like Jeremy specifically, as you were talking about, it allows you to do some things vicariously. You can kind of live through their experiences because not only can you watch the videos, but then the next time you're with the person chatting, you can talk about it a little bit and you bring it up. And the social media is what brought you together. I didn't know Jeremy from a hole in the ground until I seen him at the last Nova Scotia Bushcraft gathering. I had seen a couple of his YouTube videos, and I had added him to my subscribe list so I could be like, I'll check him out later. And then once I seen the guy there and talked to him a little bit, I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna start looking at some of this stuff. And I mean, now I follow it pretty faithfully.
I mean, I reached out to him for this podcast. It wasn't for anything at that time. No other reason. I wanted to ask him questions about his video and his quality and stuff. And next thing you know, I'm crashed on a lake in in the valley. Gasper Lake, s- sitting out a storm in a hammock with him by my side, and
I
he's
mean,
soaked. And
how many bushcraft stories start like that? Like, oh, we just kind of hung out once and it went from there. Our relationship is that kind of relationship.
oh yeah, and I make friends all the time like this now. Like I've made 4 or 5 friends this year alone just by reaching out and saying, "Hey, I like bushcraft. I like being in the woods. Do you?" And then they'll come back like, "Oh yeah, you want to go camping?" And I mean, some people think this is weird. I don't get it really.
I mean, what's the worst that could happen? You're going into the woods alone with somebody.
Yeah, there's no downside to that, right?
Not at all. I mean, that is perfect sense right there. But that's
Nobody
just the way
ever.
we are. I mean, okay, I seen the greatest thing the other day. You remember when you were a kid, they told you not to, what was it? Not to get in the car with strangers or something like that. Now with Uber, you call a stranger to drive you around. So, I mean,
Yeah,
that's kind of what we're progressing to.
but okay, years ago. Let's compare this to dating a little bit. Like social media has changed the dating world. Like it's a good example. We're not
Hmm.
off topic a little, but years ago, how did you meet somebody? You went to the bar and you met somebody, and then you said, well, maybe we should go for a coffee or something, or maybe we should get together next week for a drink at the same bar. That's how you met people. Nowadays, you would not meet somebody in a bar. Very few people go to a bar to meet somebody. They meet people through social media and through dating apps and stuff like that.
Which is
Uh,
weird to me. I couldn't imagine just seeing somebody's picture and be like, oh, let's, like, but
but but in a bar, so you show up to a bar and you see somebody that's attractive to you. Is is that why you talk to that person just because they're attractive? With social media, you have the opportunity to find out about their likes, their dislikes. You know, I know your wife is kind of into a little bit of this stuff. She does a little bit of bushcrafting stuff. I met her at the very first bushcraft weekend,
mhm.
and she was showing people how to make ropes. So she's kind of into this sort of thing. If she hadn't had similar interests to you, would you have really been with her now?
It's, I have no
We,
idea, man.
no,
Probably
we
not.
don't. But, but having that additional filter, the same thing is, I mean, I don't contact somebody who's always been showing videos of them being in 5-star resorts down south and flying in jets. I don't call them up and say, you want to go bushcrafting with me this weekend? They're not into that. That's not who they are
No.
necessarily. I mean, there might be some examples that I'm wrong about. Maybe if I contacted Ray Mears or Bear Grylls or Les Stroud, that maybe I'd have a different experience. They have a bit more money, a bit more backing than I do. They may turn around and say, yeah, that'd be awesome to go camping with Ben Greening. I want to do that.
Oh, we
I,
can dream, Ben. We can
I
dream.
don't think that's going to happen. Don't get me wrong. I'm not that naive, but
You know what?
there
Love or
are.
hate those three guys, there's definitely going to be a good story out of each one of them.
I would camp with any one of them. There's one or two that I'm more likely to camp with than the other, but uh, no, I mean I'll camp with almost anyone as long as they're not asking me to be dinner.
Which is kind of the thing we hinted at when you just randomly run into the woods with somebody to say, hey, let's go camping. But no, it's true. Like, Jeremy was just saying there, you develop some of the best friendships over social media. And that's one of the most amazing things with social media. It took a world that was so big that you couldn't fathom traveling it and shrunk it down to your desk. You can talk to people from all over the globe about their likes, their dislikes, their thoughts, their opinions. Like, it's an amazing thing in its own right, just for that alone.
We've had people from literally around the world ask us about the potential to camp with us,
Yeah.
right? Uh, and I think that's awesome. That's a chance to meet somebody from across the country or across the pond and see how they camp and how they do things and what's available there and what's not available and how they can do it and the differences between like environment, terrain, laws. I mean, all that these things play a part. The social acceptance of what's being done and how popular it is. Uh, I'm really shocked at how popular the whole bushcrafting idea is in the UK, knowing how little like free crown land is
Yeah.
really available to them compared to Canada. Like, I mean, I don't think there's anyone that can compete to uh, such a low population density, such great wilderness area as Canada itself. Uh, I've spoke with Justin Barber, the Newfoundland explorer, a few times now. He started a YouTube show going
Mm.
across Labrador. I don't know if you've seen any of it, Robert.
Yep, I seen it.
Yeah.
I had subscribed to him, and I seen it come up.
So it's a pretty good video. There's some interesting things. I enjoyed the first one. He made a couple of what I would consider rookie mistakes, but
That's
in
par for course. You know what I mean? So
other ways he's easily equal or superior to me in camping. Don't get me wrong. This is a man who did 1,700 kilometers with just him and his dog. I'm not saying I'm better than him in any way, shape, or form,
nope. But
but
I mean, he was passionate, and he's dedicated, and I mean, he's got a love for it. Obviously.
he does. But he set up his tent on the side of a river in a thunderstorm, and when he woke up in the morning, part of his tent was in the middle of the river.
Yep.
So
I mean,
it can
you learn sometimes.
it can happen to anyone, right? Like he said, he was 7, 8 feet or more. I think he was more than that from looking at the video from the river when he went to sleep. When he woke up, that river came up 7 or 8 inches, which equated to quite a few feet of water. All his gear and stuff was fine. And I don't know how the rest of the trip turns out. I can't wait to find out. It's going to probably be another video out next week. I'll be there watching.
Yep, same as me. But I guess we're kind of coming up on. Yeah, we're approaching our 1 hour mark. So
that's when Robert gets mad at me. Yeah.
no, we try. Okay, so this is the other thing with social media. Seeing it just came up is we originally started this as 1 hour episodes. Decided let's try and knock it back to 30 minutes because the one thing people say is sometimes we're a little long winded. And since then, I don't think we've had an episode on 30 minutes. It's still going up into the hour, but at least now we're cognitive of it, and we try to catch ourselves. And
But we said you said earlier we do this for the enjoyment and the fun, and the reality is we do enjoy it, and we are having fun. If this was boring, we would be ending this in 5 minutes.
Yep.
For us, we enjoy this. I hope you do listening. We do ramble a bit. I'm sorry, but if you came camping with me, this would be the rambling you'd get to enjoy all night long.
And I think, and I don't mean to toot our horns for this, but I think it does show through some of our passion for bushcrafting. You know what I mean? We are passionate about it. If anybody's out there wondering, are we, or are we just, pretending to be? No, we are legitimately passionate about bushcrafting. It's not just something we do, it's a part of our lives. We love it. It's like we wouldn't be talking about it if we didn't love it, and that's why we said if this ever stops being fun.
I've said before, people have heard me say this, that if it wasn't for the fact that I have a family, a wife, kids, things I love, I'd probably just disappear in the woods. I'd pop up here and there occasionally for food, but maybe a new piece of gear, a new tarp.
Once you get in there and get yourself set up, you'll figure it out.
I might be fine. But no, I do enjoy it out there. I enjoy other things. I love learning more things, and this is a medium, an engine towards continuing that learning. If the producers of Alone are listening, I'm here. Just contact me. I will come out and I will win.
You can contact me too. I will come out, and I'd like to say I'd win. Realistically, I'd be happy just not being eliminated first. You know what I mean? That's my bar right there, man. I just don't want to be the first one.
If they could give me like 3 months warning, I'm going to carb up and I'm good for like 3-4 months before I even have to eat.
Well, I'm already there. I'm waiting for my phone call at this point. But no, realistically, guys, the last words on me for this is social media is great, but take it with a grain of salt. Do your research. Don't take anything anyone says, including ourselves, as gospel. It's pure opinionative. Some people have a little bit more informed opinions, some people have a little less informed opinions, but that's all it is at the end of the day. It's opinions. Use it to help base one of your own on products, on going out in the woods, on skills, on anything like that. It's a plethora of information, but it's only as good as you make it. Does that kind of sound right, Ben, or does that just sound crazy talk?
No, that is exactly right. I mean, they're more than welcome to contact us and ask us our opinion, and we will give you our opinion. We don't know everything, and we don't know your particular situation. We don't know a thousand things that should factor into any decision you make. But we do have some experience. We do have some knowledge. We do have some things, and we're what we have. We're more than willing to share. As are dozens of others out there, and they're doing, I hope, their best. But
I don't know. That Jeremy looks pretty shady. He hasn't talked to me in about 5, 6 minutes now, so I'm thinking he might have
yeah,
turned us off. I know he didn't. He's still there.
probably
But yeah, no,
trying to get
perfect.
trying to get another tattoo. That's what it's going on.
I'm staying out of this
No,
one.
I'm gonna wear that later. Anyways, yeah, no, I agree 100%. Take everything you see with a bit of a grain of salt. Research multiple sites, multiple sources, uh, and take your own situation in effect. Just because someone says this is a great product for the price doesn't mean it's a great product for the price for you. I know some people out there that will tout the most expensive stuff all day long. Not everyone can afford that. I also know people out there that will tout the cheapest stuff all day long because they're cheap and they don't want to buy good, expensive products. There's a reality is there are some things you should probably spend a bit of money on. There's some stuff you can save a fortune on. Uh, and you have to figure out what you need to spend your money on, what's important to you, and what you need for your situation, your location, and so on and so forth.
Prime
Uh,
example is if you live in Florida, the number one thing on your list is probably not a winter sleeping bag.
no,
In
no,
Canada,
and
it's at the top of most people's lists.
it's like if you live in an area where you can get lots of good firewood, maybe you don't need to spend a lot of money on a good stove. But if you
Read
don't
the
have the
comments when
skill,
we're done.
uh, if, I,
Sorry.
I, I say if you don't have the skill to light a good fire, maybe buying a good little gas stove is a great thing for you. Uh, if you don't have the money, the penny stove is a great option.
And they work
Like there's,
great. That's a whole other
yeah,
video.
I was showing this to some people at my, yeah, now we got a whole new conversation.
Okay, that's coming later. We'll come back to that.
We're coming back to, I'm going to say goodbye now. Good night and have fun. We have 4 new topics now we need to talk about in the next couple.
Well, only 4 episodes till the draw. Everybody has to remember that too. Get the word out.
Yeah. 4 episodes. Like I said, get subscribed, get thrown in for the draw, and maybe win yourself an awesome T-shirt and a few other little surprises to be discovered at some point between now and when you receive the prize.
All depends how the draw goes. All, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I blanked for a second. Once again, just to summarize, guys, if you're just joining into the end, we are doing a draw on our 1 year anniversary. Anybody that subscribed to our YouTube channel will be entered into that draw. Our YouTube channel, of course, is Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. Just search us on Facebook, or sorry, on YouTube. And also on our YouTube channel, you're going to have the benefit of seeing all our other videos. So yeah, jump on, subscribe up, have a chance to win a t-shirt that was handmade by Ben and his wife there. So yeah, there's some nice specialness to these. These are, yes, just t-shirts, or just a t-shirt, but it's a special t-shirt to us, and we hope it's special to you guys.
So, Mr. Robert, if I subscribe, can I get it?
No, I tried to subscribe us. You can't subscribe to your own channel. I kid you not. When I was looking on the AtlanticBushcraft.ca website, I hovered over the YouTube link and it says, "You are not eligible to subscribe to your own channel." I actually was a little insulted. I get the point, but you don't have to make me feel bad about it.
Okay, that's cool. It's hilarious. Oh,
That's it for me. I'm completely derailed now. What's your closing remarks, Ben?
I've done it. We're all good. Can't wait to see you guys next week. Get out there, have some fun, try something new, learn something new, and share it.
Yeah, for sure. Share your experiences. Be sure to look up those other people's YouTube channels that we mentioned there. Jeremy, Gary's, their Instagrams, Chris's, and anyone else. If you're new to this whole bushcrafting thing, jump on some of the social media we've been talking about and just keyword search bushcraft in your area. And you'll be amazed at the information that comes out.
And the friends you can make.
Exactly. Good point. All right, guys, that's it for us. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week, which is, I believe we're into February now, February 5th. The year is ticking by.
It is.
Have a good night, everybody.
Right on.